Hello everyone, my name is George Kolokotronis. I'm currently heading up the FP&A team at Sherweb as Director of FP&A, and I'm thrilled to be with you here today. Sherweb is a privately run technology company focusing on cloud solutions partnerships, and they're headquartered in Sherbrooke, Quebec, Canada. Today, I'll be talking to you about the transformation that is currently underway at Sherweb, the FP&A transformation that is, and how business partnering is really the focus of all of our activity areas. So to start the discussion, I'd like to provide you with the current context. The FP&A discipline is relatively new at Sherweb, and I've been there for about nine months. During that time, it became evident to me that the level of sophistication in certain areas of FP&A were relatively low. Not too many best practices had been implemented. So I identified this as a significant risk and committed to advance the FP&A function to better serve the needs of the organization and to create a more value-added FP&A function. So how does one embark on a transformation journey? Well, for me, I needed to better understand the current context. And so this led to a formal assessment of the current state, as you will see on this next slide. So one of the key activities that I needed to do was to make sure that I understood the current needs of the organization and how effectively those needs were being met. I looked at all the things that we did, and I asked myself the questions: what value do we deliver? And then I asked questions such as, what should we be doing? What are the expected changes that are expected by us? And another important activity was to really informally survey my business partners and to understand their needs. They were telling me that FP&A was falling short in certain areas, and this was the motivation behind the vision. So I listened to their answers and formulated the answers to my own questions, and the future state slowly started to develop. And this was the birth of the desired impact. So more on that in a moment. And so as I analyzed and documented documented the gaps between the current and the future state, I structured my assessment around three key areas. So for the people, are the right people in the right roles, and are they well trained and able to do their job effectively? Around processes, do well-defined processes exist? Are they documented and respected and followed? And on technology, is automation encouraged to reduce manual processes, and are we taking advantage of advancements in finance technology in particular? So this gap assessment needs to be revisited on a recurring basis, and that's something that I intend to do. So it all starts with a vision. The first thing I needed to do was to establish my guiding light. What is the overarching result that I'm trying to accomplish here? What does every organization ask of its FP&A function? The purpose of the vision was to use as a stress test. When we are unsure of what we're working on, we simply have to go back to that vision and determine how that vision is being satisfied. And if we cannot align our activities with the vision, then it's time to reevaluate what we're doing. The vision statement is really centered around our business partners, how we provide them information and insights, and how we assist them, arming them with key intelligence to drive business forward. To put the vision into motion, I formulated a strategy that identified and grouped key activities. So that simplified how I executed the strategy. It's built around 5 key pillars. One of the pillars, for example, is planning processes. The roadmap defines the focus area that helped us execute that strategy. So for example, in this first pillar of planning processes, the roadmap activities are the annual budget, forecast, rolling forecast, scenario planning, and strat plan, for example. And each of these activities are then planned out, and the expected results are properly defined, including the cadence, the accountability areas, and time to complete. From there, we needed to ensure that our efforts were tied into accomplishing the roadmap activities, and so I designed objective and key results for each of my team members that are closely aligned with the strategy. So that translates to a well-defined responsibility area, and also helps align our efforts. So the OKRs are then tied into the VOE. So what is the VOE? The VOE is a program that Sherweb has that asks its employees how they're feeling. And so this survey is called the Voice of the Employee. So it's an exercise that my team and I conducted to analyze the results, and we narrowed down the areas that we felt were the most important. And so I then aligned our OKRs with those VOE results, making sure to address and respond positively to the areas that were the biggest concern for my team. And this allowed me to come full circle, focusing on key activities that execute strategy. On the next slide, I'll talk about the desired state, the desired impacts. So as I mentioned earlier, the assessment stage gave birth to desired impacts. So to establish a strategy, I had to clearly identify what exactly I was seeking to accomplish. What was the result of the imminent change, and where were the improvements with which we would move forward as an organization? Why would my business partners support this push? The expected results from these improvements are standardization of processes, improved decision-making, digital enablement, increased productivity in areas such as data accuracy and defined roles, and then scalable FP&A structure. And so with this in mind and the full support of the organization, I was able to build that strategy around these key pillars, which we'll see on the next slide. So I established the 5 key pillars as a grouping of themes, and each of these themes requires different intervention. Supporting these key pillars are the organization's core values. You see those at the bottom. They are the foundation that governs how we conduct ourselves, and this is the foundation of the strategy. So if we look at these individually, the first pillar is our planning processes. This deals with how we execute financial exercises and models that specifically support decision-making. Second pillar is financial reporting, the analysis and explanation of variances and commentary. The third pillar is around data usage and analytics, incorporating non-financial metrics such as KPI within our publications. And then the fourth and last pillar is people. It's about how we conduct our, it's about continuous learning, maintaining a high level of engagement, and assuring that bench strength and success planning for continuity are part of our thinking. So anchored on these core values, the strategy has taken great relevance and resonates with our key stakeholders. So the use case demonstrates how closely tied the activities of an FP&A team are with our business partners. And the plan I've presented here today requires that our organization be nimble and reactive. The agility is critical to allow the organization to pivot in new directions and to be able to do things in different ways so that we can react to ever-changing business landscape. In conclusion, I would like to say that today the FP&A transformation journey is still ongoing. The plan is very aggressive and seeks to commit the organization to a new way of doing things, but we know that we've already made some significant progress in a very short amount of time. In fact, through an informal assessment using the FP&A trends maturity model you see on this slide, we know that we're still early in our journey. However, I'm very enthused with the recent traction that we've had and acceptance of this initiative by our senior leaders. And so as we tackle the challenge of advancing FP&A discipline at Sherweb, I expect this organization to mature from a developing state organization to a leading state organization. And I would love the opportunity to return here to this audience to be able to provide you with a report card on our progress and our accomplishments. Thank you.